Elected in 2016, Tsai won re-election by a landslide last year on a promise to keep people safe from what she calls a growing threat across the Taiwan Strait. Is Taiwan more safe today than it was when you became president in 2016?
If it's a threat from China, it's increasing every day.
China and Taiwan's potential war dates back to 1912 when the Republic of China took control over China. Taiwan at the time was home to a colony of Japanese descent after the Sino-Japanese War in 1895. The Japanese then returned it to the ROC in 1945 for them to take refuge there 4 years later. The rise in the People's Republic of China, the Communist Party, had led them to not only take over but to force the ROC to flee to Taiwan. Since then, the PRC have been trying to take full control as the ROC had. The conflict in Ukraine has led Tsai Ing-wen, the Taiwanese president, to start a military plan to train many border forces and reservists to protect themselves.
Taiwanese soldiers fire artillery shells at a target representing advancing enemy forces. The democratically self-ruled island is conducting military exercises to prepare for a potential assault by Chinese forces. They follow repeated incursions by Chinese warplanes into the island's air defense zone.
The US have been importing up to $100 million worth of firearms and artillery into Taiwan. They have also agreed to take action if need be. The US are one of the 13 countries that recognize Taiwan as an independent country with its own laws and democracy. The other countries that do not recognize this are likely doing this to maintain an efficient relationship with China. If China were to invade through a naval approach, that would mean that imports to Taiwan would be cut off. That means that 99.7% of Taiwan's resources would be unreachable and they would be on an economic decline. Although Taiwan would have the upper hand with a naval invasion, the transportation of many soldiers and weaponry across 160 kilometers of water would mean a vast amount of resources used to support this with a minimal outcome. As they approach the border, they will likely undergo 180,000 people's worth of firepower. This itself will potentially sink a few ships, blocking way for other ships, losing vast amounts of resources and many other negative effects. If they were to get on land, 1.5 million reservists would be the next threat with heavy military presence against the sets of thousands of troops that would be deployed. Air forces would likely be shot down. Missiles would blow everything away, which would 1. Be a waste of a missile, and 2. Leave nothing left. To have no habitable land and with no flora or fauna remaining would be a waste and cause significant political backlash. It appears from a numbers point of view that it would be easy, though from a militarian view could be more difficult. Though it is possible, we have seen it before. Taiwan has recently been firing at a target representing naval battleships, which is just off the border of China. This target is an island called the Pratas Islands. It's about 22 kilometers in diameter and sits just over 300 kilometers away from China and is about 410 kilometers from Taiwan.
I think the training is very solid. We are now familiar with the nearby defensive terrain and also places we can use to fend off an attack. I think this 14-day reservist call-up is very useful.
Mathematically calculated, it's likely that China will force Taiwan to a negotiation, not by military force, though through economic force. Another scenario is war, where China bombs many major facilities, including airfields, government buildings, military camps, border forces and communications to cut off access to the US. Once communications are established, America will send their local naval and avian units to assist Taiwan. China likely having docked on land now, a turf war would have started in the mountains with many personnel killed. The outcome is unknown, as war is unpredictable. It is believed that the optimal time for war is in between April and October, as the weather will be in China's favor.